Welcome to Decode Dune, an exegesis of the Dune universe.
Hello, welcome to Decode Dune. It is 3/27/2022. We are on our second episode of recording today. Jeff is got the cans on his ears and a mic in front of his face, and I am also here. And we are on page 392 of our episode, our copy, or our version. What the hell is wrong with me? What is the word for this?
What is wrong with you?
Version of Dune. What's the word in publishing? Edition. Boom. There we go. It's this edition of Dune. All right. So 392. Jeff, do you want to dive into the intro?
Yeah, this is going to take forever. So put on your seatbelts. God created Arrakis to train the faithful. From the wisdom of Muad'Dib by the Princess Irulan.
Boom. Boom. Nothing else you can really say. So here we are.
This is the hard times create great men bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here's a whole spoonful of it for you.
Yeah. Let's not talk more about that. Audience, go back and listen to episodes if this is somehow the first one you're listening to. Jeff has comments about.
Jeff has an attitude about this.
Yeah, Jeff has comments about this particular meme in the world. So, so Paul killed Jameis in a knife fight last episode. Jessica's been officially given the title of Sayadina. They are in the siege, right? They're not still on their way. It's in the siege,
yeah.
Okay.
They took off their clothes. To fight, right? So they're definitely in the siege.
Right. So some big shit happened. Let's see here. Big stuff happens in this chapter. Basically, we learn some things, which are this is the funeral episode, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So chapter rather. So what do we learn in this chapter? We learn that when I think we formally learn it in this chapter, maybe it's mentioned elsewhere, but we learn that when someone dies, their body is reduced to the water that is in the body. We're like 70 to 80% water, if we recall. So they do that. They put it in like a bag. In my mind, it looks like a medicine ball that in theory one could train with, but you shouldn't because water is very precious and God forbid you break it open. But so they do a funeral for Jameis and everyone shows up. We learn that Paul specifically was we don't really get much detail on it, but we learn that based on him getting some weird looks from people, that when everyone comes up and takes an item of Jameis's property, they say a thing about how they were a friend of Jameis. They take an item. They explain why he was a friend to them. And we learn that it's very important for Paul to have said something as the person who killed him in a knife fight. We don't get much details about why that's important, but we just know that there would be a curse or something to that effect if he didn't, because I'm fucking up all over here. The funeral's happening, people are doing the thing, and Paul's sitting there wondering, am I expected to say I'm a friend of Jameis and take an item? And it's occurring to him as people are giving him weird looks that like, no, he definitely needs to do so. And there's I think it's in Jessica's head or it's in his head, this idea that if he doesn't do it, there will be a very negative consequence for the tribe. And so he goes and does it. And he says something profound like, I'm a friend of Jameis. He taught me that when you kill someone, you also suffer. I wish I would have known him better. We could do a quick callback to the movie Dune, released in late 2021, which was, I think they did this nicely. And you commented about this on our movie commentary episode, Jeff. I think they nicely handled a vision, an alternate reality of Jameis actually being a friend of Paul. And like it obviously didn't really happen, but sort of the idea of if Jameis hadn't immediately called Paul out and then died, how they may have been able to work together, how Jameis may have been able to help help Paul, teach him a little bit. And in the movie, it was actually rather touching. In that vision occurred, if I'm not mistaken, when he was trying to crash land the ornithopter, when he let his mind go and just went with the flow of the moment. So it was foreshadowing the idea of meeting a Fremen and sort of having a mentor. You would, now we had in the movie, we had already been introduced to Stilgar, so we knew it wasn't him, but it was, of course, there's going to be other Fremen, right? So in the movie, it's sort of this foreshadowing of, oh, he's going to end up with the Fremen and he's going to have this life with them. And he's going to, have a mentor and he's going to learn things and he's going to grow and develop. And again, kind of touching. And then what we find out is in the movie, again, this is different than the book, but I think it was really nicely done in that, in the way that cinema can function in different ways than literature. Really nicely done. And then obviously that same actor or character is not someone who wants to take Paul under his wing and calls him out, and then they have the knife fight, in the movie. So anyway, where am I going with? Okay, yeah.
I think there's a parallel.
Yeah.
And maybe you touched on it, but both the outcome is accomplished in both directions. Meaning whether they had been friends and Jameis was his buddy and showed him the way, or showed him the way in this way, it still achieves the same outcome.
Right, for sure.
So I think this is how the prescience works.
Yeah.
Meaning it's the exact things aren't shown to you, but right. So
right, yeah.
But the outcome is clear.
Right.
Are you following me?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he mentions this idea of it's not always accurate, and you don't like. That's mentioned in the text. So funeral occurs, and everyone takes some stuff from him. Turns out Jameis played the balisette, just like Paul's friend or teacher Gurney. And that's the item he claims. He makes a speech about Jameis, and all is right with the world. And then basically they put this duffel bag of water in front of his feet. I meant to calculate what the weight of that might have been, but we can just do some math and assume. Let's assume Jameis was 200 pounds, right? 200 times 70, 140 pounds of water, something like that. Like a lot, big old bag. It was like, the way it's described is it looks like it's I think of George Costanza. No, sorry, I think of Kramer's bladder oil, the oil bladder system from Seinfeld. It's like this reinforced bag that has this very precious material in it, and so the idea is now we learn that when you kill someone, the water no longer Fremen rules. Your fluids are yours until you die, and then they become property of the siege.
Property.
In this case, we learn that if you kill someone, it actually then becomes your you get that property. It becomes your property. So they lay this bag in front of his feet, and I think it's a bit of a test. Obviously, they're like, okay, here you got all this water. What do you want to do with it? And if I'm recalling correctly, Paul's like, I give it to you for safekeeping, or give it right back to the tribe, something to that effect. Throughout this previously, he's been saying, I don't want the water, I don't want the water. Chani's like, it's water. Like, what? How could you turn that down? So then we learn they do have a form of fiat currency, because they have the little coins with like holes in them that represent the amount of water that he got. And so Chani gives them to him. She counts it out formally for him. Great moment of I don't know if it's laziness or just delegation. He's like, could you hold on to that for me? Turns out that is a courting ritual that she was like, whoa. Stilgar's like, he doesn't know what he just did, so it's a thing. And then they walk down to the cistern, which is separate from the siege, but like kind of right next door. And we find out that they have, I did the math, 10 million gallons of water in that location. And they have apparently a couple hundred of these locations. And they need a lot more, nonetheless, to get where they want to go. And that's when it is revealed or confirmed from the Fremen side of it, not the Keen side of it, that the plan for Arrakis is to make it habitable by, again, getting some grasses on those dunes, then starting to plant more and more and more, and eventually making it a little bit more, a little bit less like Arrakis and a little bit more like a Caladan, if possible.
Yeah.
I just said a lot, Jeff, and you didn't jump in much. Comments,
no,
questions?
Because you're I love it. No, I think this does a really good job of tying together. I think this space. So their introduction, they cross this liminal, this liminal passage from sort of all this galactic, this sort of this galaxy wide intrigue and whatever. And then they pass through this, it's almost like a dream, right? They pass through into this like microcosm of this whole thing. So now they're in much smaller arena, just as dangerous, but and its aspirations just as big. So it's just interesting to me how they passed out of like all the shit that's just happened with Leto, the Harkonnens, and almost like a grain of sand through an hourglass, right? They're in this big context, and then boop, they filter through, and now they're in this. Now it emerges into this other big context, and it just sets us up perfectly for how these things are going to smash together. We're pretty much at about the halfway point, a little farther than halfway through the book. So it fits that shape pretty well. He's setting us up for a good clash.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
for me.
So
also, if I was Paul, I would have stuck my head in that bag. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, that's pretty much the chapter, right?
Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, it's supposed to be a big revelation. Sorry, 10 million gallons of water is I looked it up. It's I don't have my notes with me, but we can really quickly do it. One Olympic swimming pool. How many? Like one Olympic swimming pool, if I recall from my calculations, is about 660,000 gallons. So 10 million divided by 660,000 is 15 Olympic swimming pools, all in one giant vat cistern they have. The largest aquarium in the what's up?
That's a fair bit of water.
Good amount of water. The largest aquarium in the world, at least for a long time, I don't know if it's been surpassed, is the Georgia Aquarium in Atlanta. And that apparently, I don't know if it's the one tank or it's total across the entire aquarium. But when I Googled 10 million, what's 10 million gallons of water? An article pulled up that said, the Georgia Aquarium has 10 million gallons of water in it. It's the world's largest aquarium. So if you've ever been there and you're like, wow, this is big. They almost got like a little mini ocean going on here. That's what 10 million gallons is. And just to kind of give the episode a little bit more time before we move on to the next one, I used to have a secret shopping job at the Georgia Aquarium. So
really?
So it was really awesome. So once a month I would go there, and this is like Wolfgang Puck was like the cafeteria. So it's like really good food. So I would go there, and the actual secret shopping job was you get your item, you have it scanned, you go to pay, and then while the register was open, I was supposed to go, I could use some chips or a drink or something. And
Right.
you were supposed to see if the cashier was like, close the register. He'll like, give me your receipt, close the register, ring it up. Or
Mhm.
would they say that will be $2 or whatever the price was?
Mhm.
Because it was the secret shopping job was to test if people were skimming or not.
Ah.
And it did happen at least once that someone did just quote me on a price without having to ring it up. But
Interesting.
for the most part, that wasn't the case. In retrospect, how do I feel about being effectively speaking a narc? I
God,
don't know.
you were almost a cop.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Did they issue you a taser in case
no,
someone was actually skimming?
no, but I created expense. I got paid for every line I went through, and then I obviously got all my expenses reimbursed. So I was getting
Nice.
a week's worth of sandwiches and
Mhm.
uh other items that would last, longer, like Snickers
Yeah.
bars or things like that. The sandwiches obviously only have a shelf life. So I was like once a month, I was getting like a week's worth of my lunch sandwich and then other items that would last me
Nice.
longer for this job. And eventually, I'd start getting in a hurry where the actual aquarium itself wasn't that interesting. But
Uh-huh.
a good number, I went through there a good number of times and saw the wonders. And it was cool. I also got like a backdoor entrance that security let me in. Like,
Hey now.
yeah. So anyway, that's all I have to say about the Georgia Aquarium, which has 10 million gallons of water, just like the Fremen at Siege Tubber.
Just like the Fremen. There you
Yeah.
go.
Um, okay.
Love it.
Yeah, is that it for
All
this
right.
episode?
I think that's
Short. This
it.
has got to be a really short episode, but I guess that's fine. Oh, sorry. There's this big moment that I actually, I'm sorry. There's a moment that struck me the first time I read this, then struck me again. I
Mhm.
don't really feel this comes to fruition very well in this book at all. Although, spoiler, after the events of Dune, Jessica doesn't like see Paul for, is it 7 or 12 years? She goes back to Caladan and just
Yeah.
like doesn't see her kids. It's as a reader with human intuition, you're supposed to read that sounds kind of dysfunctional, but it's never really touched on directly in
Mhm.
Dune Messiah. But in the end of this chapter, Paul sat silently in the darkness, a single stark thought dominating his awareness. My mother is my enemy. She does not know it, but she is. She's bringing the jihad. She bore me. She trained me. She is my enemy. Um, I remember reading this and being like, "Whoa, that's fucked up." Thinking maybe there was going
Yeah.
to be like some conflict with them later. Uh,
Right.
I don't really find that this comes to fruition very much at all. It just makes this whole thing kind of strange, um, in my opinion. It might just be
Yeah.
wonky writing. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't. I think it's wonky writing.
Yeah.
I think he
Okay.
had an idea and then he's just petered out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I don't hear a lot of people pining for what more of this, but there probably could have been, and he just decided not to focus on it. So this is probably why this whole Jessica as enemy gets stripped out when people do adaptations. It doesn't lead anywhere that makes the story that interesting.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
The whole Scooby Doo. I mean, there are fun moments like drunk what's his name, where she makes him sober up and
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
bloodied. I
like
bloodied my. I bloodied my blade and Grumman on Grumman. Yeah.
yeah, but anyway, it just ultimately doesn't go anywhere. So I'm not sure what Herbert had in mind here or he why he needed to set Jessica in conflict or potential conflict with the people that were closest to her. But
Yeah.
maybe he had mommy issues.
Seems like it could have been. Seems like there could
Mhm.
have been some mommy issues.
Yeah,
All right.
some mommy issues.
There we go.
Frank Herbert has mama issues.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Well, that's that for this episode, I think. Um, Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we get a sense of when they pour the water into the. I don't know. This is just a really short episode. I mean, have we done this
Yeah.
chapter justice? There's a thing about Fremen technology where they pour the water into a thing that measures it first, and then it puts it into the amount of water into the greater pool. And Jessica notices that not a single drop even sticks to the wall of it. You know, it just slides on down. And she's like, "Whoa, Fremen engineering, they're perfectionists."
Can't have any water. You can't have any water wasting.
Yeah. It really is interesting. Yeah, we really do not get a sense, like we do and don't get a sense of Fremen technology in this book.
Correct.
We do and don't, right?
Yeah, it's like hinted at. Meaning they're like, yeah, they're able to make these amazing still suits and but they don't really go into it. He's not a world that we've talked about this before. He's not a world builder in that way. He's like a reporter.
Right.
And over here, they got some. Here we see the Fremen making their still suits.
And
Then it moves on.
Right.
Jameis is a hit with the ladies. And yeah, it's like very news reportery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
that's the best way that I can say it.
Yeah. All right. Well, so that is that for this chapter, this episode, and hope you enjoyed it, because we're going to be back with another episode right after this.
We sure are.
Bye.
Bye.
Like and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. And to hear more readings, become a Patreon supporter at Patreon /Decode Podcast.